We thank you for your company as always. Time has come now for us to take you over to the Omanye Hall of the Labadi Beach Hotel to join in that breakfast meeting talking about digitization. Our moderator is George Riafi, but that is a rep of Stanbic Bank speaking now.
Concept. Is there a dream for this country? Is it the case that for the young man or for the young lady who goes up to school in the morning, they can look up and say that as a Ghanaian, I believe there is a path to my destiny. I believe there is a route of opportunity, and there are many ways of opportunities for me to be able to achieve what I conceive. What's the dreams that are important to us? And indeed, the urgency of this matter is such that we can't allow it to follow. And that's the reason why we are here today. Also very important is the space of unique opportunities, the very rare window that digitalization provides for us. So we're here this morning primarily to bring the opportunity of digitalization to the concept of the dreams of the majority of the people in this country. How can digitalization make it possible for most people in this country to believe and to hope and to know that there is a future, and that if even the mic drops, the dream is going to happen? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Malko Afajenu. It tells you how passionate that dream is, that despite the obstacles, we still get there and achieve that dream. Let's show some love for Malko Afajenu, giving us a more bigger understanding about what we should be expecting here when we talk about the Ghanaian dream. Well, I'll go on to invite one dynamic gentleman, someone who believes in the Ghanaian dream and is driving that passionately, leading one of the most vibrant financial institutions in Ghana here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bank. You can do better than that, please.
The Managing Director of Graphic Communications Group Limited, Mr. Atoafo, distinguished panelists, guests, both here physically and virtually across the world, friends from the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you all once again for joining us this morning for yet another session of the Graphic Business Stanbic Breakfast Meeting. At Stanbic, we believe that ideas and concrete actions build a nation. It is for this reason that over the years, together with our partner, the Graphic Communications Group Limited, we have institutionalized this platform to create critical development. Today's topic for deliberation, digitization, the key to unlocking the Ghanaian dream, is no different. We are all witnesses to the transformative power of digitization, especially during this period of the pandemic. But today's topic is not only about digitization, but also about the Ghanaian dream. So my colleague Malko attempted to define the Ghanaian dream, and I'll attempt another definition. For a large majority of Ghanaians, the most likely response to the question, what is your biggest dream, is to have economic freedom, to find opportunities that enable them improve their standards of living. It is in this continuous search for an antidote to barriers to the Ghanaian dream that drives us all to consider the opportunities that digitization holds. At this point, let me commend the government and specifically the Vice President, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, for the efforts made at digitizing and formalizing the Ghanaian economy through the National Digital Property Addressing System, and the National Identification Project. We also have our colleagues from the telcos who have been part of that journey in introducing the interoperability platform that has enabled both the telcos, the fintechs, and also the banks to work seamlessly to drive the cashless agenda to further digitize the economy. However, digitization on its own is not an end. Anything that can be digitized will be digitized. It will be crucial, therefore, for leaders to understand the implications of digitization on their countries, their organizations, and their employees. Digitization not only changes the way of working, but also accelerates the speed of change that companies and nations are facing. Yet many digital transformation initiatives struggle to realize the expected business benefits and social benefits. Many studies have attributed this struggle to the neglect of organizational issues relating to people and culture, how people adapt to the changes happening around them. These trends underscore the need to consider the new skills and competencies, new approaches to leadership, and the new organizational capabilities alongside a digitization drive. For us as a country, what remains critical, therefore, is the mainstreaming of digitization into the national psyche of the country. For example, how do we cultivate digitization in the formative years of children such that it becomes their way of doing things? In conclusion, we must remember that the world has evolved, and digitization is a sure way to keep up and stay relevant. This morning, I believe we have the right people to provide critical focus and direction for our thinking about how we can leverage digitization to achieve our dreams. Thank you once again for joining us, and I look forward to fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwame Asmeni, for that wonderful speech there. As the program goes on, I myself am getting my own personal education on the Ghanaian dream, and thank you so much, Kwame, for that wonderful speech there. And as you look at this program, it's also live on the JoyNews channel on Multi-TV in terms of all the deliberations that are going on here. You'll be having that live, and also on all the various social media platforms on Graphic Online, Graphic Business, and also Joy FM as well. As time goes on, I'll be introducing some distinguished personalities that have joined us here this morning to grace this occasion. But I also want to call on Atua Full. He is the Managing Director of Graphic Communications Group, to give us an opening remark. I'm sorry, that might not be coming on right now. So I would like to invite our guest speaker, who is going to give us the guest address. She is Magdalena Pentin. She is with the Ministry of Communications. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Madam Magdalena Pentin.
The Managing Directors of Graphic Communications Group and Stanbic Bank, the CEO of MTN, all other protocols observed, a very good morning. And I extend apologies from the Honorable Minister for Communications and Digitalization. She very much wanted to be here present this morning. As it is, I'm going to read her speech, as she has just sent me her speech to be read on her behalf. So I'll go on to say, good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be invited to speak at this breakfast meeting on key decision makers from businesses across different sectors of our economy. I must say that the theme for this meeting digitalization, the key to unlocking the Ghanaian dream, is apt, considering the fact that almost every country in the world is busily undertaking initiatives and interventions to transform their economies through digitalization. The vision of the President to formalize our economy through technology, the Digital Ghana Agenda, sets the tone for reaping the benefits of digitalization, promoting efficiency and encouraging innovation. Furthermore, it is incumbent on government to provide the necessary infrastructure and the enabling framework for economic transformation. Digital technology, applications, processes, and services provide the key, and we recognize that very early in this administration. The COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated to us all that digital transformation of our businesses, and indeed of the economy at large, is the way to power business and ensure economic growth and resilience. The most critical lesson the pandemic taught us is effective digitalization through reliable and efficient connectivity as the surest way to survival. Interestingly, many of the interventions rolled out by government since taking office in 2017 have led to massive improvements in the delivery of services and citizens' experience. All of these interventions came in very handy and were pivotal in the amazing successes government chalked in the management of the pandemic. After being reappointed Minister of the now redefined Ministry of Communications and Digitalization in the second term of the Nana Akufo-Addo administration, I am excited about my current role, driving one of the most important sectors of the modern Ghana economy we are building together, a Ghana beyond aid, a legacy which is on course, even if disrupted for a while by the once-in-a-generation pandemic. To me, the Ghanaian dream means a property-owning democracy, whereby a visionary and competent government creates an enabling environment in which we develop our nation and ourselves faster as well as in freedom. In this vein, and in the information technology age that we are in, digitization is truly key to the realization of the Ghanaian dream. Thankfully, the record shows that Ghana over the years has witnessed a consistent and, under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo's government, accelerated transformation in the area of digitalization. We have come a long way from being the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to gain political independence from the colonialists to a flourishing multi-party democratic state from 1992 to date. After a turbulent stint under military rule, a period which we have held 8 general elections, had 3 peaceful transfers of power from an incumbent government to an opposition party, an ever more assertive legislature, and an independent judiciary, as well as a media which is so free that some even feel the need to preach freely about a non-existent culture of silence. Of course, confusing the real culture of silence which existed during the height of the AFRC and PNDC era with the globally acclaimed media freedom we enjoy today. We have come a long way indeed. It's important, ladies and gentlemen, to place the developments of today in the context of our unique history. So what is digitalization? Kindly indulge me to make a small but important distinction between digitization and digitalization. Digitization is the simple transformation of information or processes from a physical or manual form into digital or electronic ones. Digitalization involves applying digitization to improve business processes and or create new revenue streams or wealth. Digitalization is a strategic application or pursuit of digital transformation. It requires the use of applications, databases, systems, etc. for economic planning, revenue mobilization, economic empowerment of citizens, access to quality education, equitable distribution of wealth, among other benefits. Digitalization rides on 4 main pillars: technology, data, process, and organizational capability, Davenport and Redman 2020. These pillars do not automatically achieve the desired results by themselves and have to be coordinated in a deliberate manner to solve existing problems and provide solutions for a better economic and social welfare. The success of digitalization comes with coordinating all these efforts, and it is for this reason that our President, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has extended the mandate of the Ministry of Communications to include digitalization, to supervise the development and implementation of the National Digital Economy Policy, the NDEP. We are currently working on the development of the NDEP and have engaged consultants for that purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana clearly has an attractive technology ecosystem, which I'll enumerate in a bit, and that is why tech giants like Huawei, Google, and Twitter are choosing Ghana as a regional hub. Of course, these world-class technology giants see a fine political, economic, and digital environment to invest in. Now, permit me to talk about the digital ecosystem. In 2019, a study by the International Finance Corporation, IFC, titled Digital Skills in Sub-Saharan Africa, Spotlight on Ghana, revealed that there is a strong demand for digital skills in Sub-Saharan Africa generally, and Ghana in particular. The study projected that there will be 230 million digital jobs in Sub-Saharan Africa by 2030, and this will mainly be in the areas of business to business and business to government. In revenue terms, the study forecasted that by 2030, opportunities for jobs requiring digital skills will be worth $130 billion, out of which Ghana will account for $4 billion and 9 million jobs. These opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, are propelling young graduates to embrace technology, and there are technology hubs across the country working to upskill our teeming youth. Ghana Tech Lab, operating at the Accra Digital Center in collaboration with its partner hubs across the country, has trained thousands of young people through the World Bank and MasterCard Foundation funded projects. The Ghana Hubs Network also provides extensive support to over 31 local hubs across the country where young people engage in tech entrepreneurial activities. Other organizations such as the Hack Lab Foundation have been organizing hackathons to expose many engaged youths to collaborative problem solving. Government, on its part, has been investing aggressively in digital skills development, especially for girls and other underrepresented groups across the country, and I am glad to take charge of this initiative myself. Building digital skills. To unlock the potential of digitalization, talent is critical, and Ghana can fully realize digital transformation when most Ghanaians, young or elderly, have some basic digital skills and competencies to interact online, as well as consume digital goods and services. To be globally competitive, our workers require intermediate and advanced digital skills to take advantage of technologies for enhanced productivity and economic growth. In government's agenda to catch them young with ICTs, we are sponsoring coding clubs under the Universal Access Fund of GIFEC to develop the talents of young girls and boys in preparing their pathways in innovating technological solutions. This is in addition to ICTs being a core subject of our school curriculum from basic to senior high school level. Further to building the digital literacy skills of Ghanaians, government has pursued programs such as the ICT for Entrepreneurial and Women Empowerment, ISEWE, the Girls in ICT, GIICT, and the Digital Transformation Center, DTC projects targeted at disadvantaged groups, women and girls, hairdressers, seamstresses, beauticians, school dropouts, school leavers, head porters, kayaye, and female-headed households. So far, a total of 502,600 have since been trained and equipped with the requisite digital skills in various categories, consisting of teachers 700, students 234,000, girls in ICT 3,000, coding for kids 182,400, ICT skills for entrepreneurial and women empowerment 400, ICT and media in Ghana 600, ICT training for artisans, mechanics, hairdressers, market women, 81,500. Ghana, in collaboration with the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, Cisco, and Norwegian Agency Development Corporation, is currently running the Digital Literacy Skills Program to train 14,386 Ghanaians, of which 8,174 are to be women with basic, intermediary, and advanced literary skills. This program has been targeted at women entrepreneurs such as hairdressers, dressmakers, other artisans, master trainers of coding clubs, technology innovation developers, and IT security personnel. In partnership with the ITU and WFP, we will soon roll out the youth-driven digital food system model to provide digital literacy skills to 1 million smallholder farmers, 4,000 farmer organizations, among others. This program will build the capacities of persons in our food value chain production, as agriculture is the mainstay of our economy. According to the Digital Literacy Skills Gap Report published by PwC in 2018, 40% of employees at entry level lack basic literacy skills, and 57% of employees at middle level lack basic literacy skills. Just as government employees are being trained to be equipped with digital skills, the private sector is encouraged to sponsor not only its employees, but also its suppliers and agents who may be in the informal sector to enhance business processes and delivery in the various value chains. We have also worked hard to reduce the digital divide through our rural telephony project and building a network of community ICT centers across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, technology education and top skill development programs are also being pursued. Virtually all public and leading private universities in the country run degree programs in ICT at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. There are also many private training institutions that run professional certification programs to prepare top-notch tech professionals with qualifications beyond degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, job creation is the goal. If we give our young people the right skills to enable them succeed in the digital world, they can and will provide the human resources for the global world of work within the next 10 to 30 years. Africa has the youngest population in the world. They are hungry for knowledge and do amazing things with the little exposure they have. They can do even more with the right opportunities, and we must work together to make it happen. Ghana can be the launch pad to reach the rest of the continent, as there are innumerable opportunities for lucrative investment in digital infrastructure, services, applications, training, e-governance infrastructure, cybersecurity, data protection systems, technology parks, BPO centers, e-commerce platforms, and last-mile logistics services, you name it, here on the continent. The future is now. Deploying technologies for digitalization. Ghana Statistical Service Household Survey on ICT in Ghana, conducted in 2019, showed that 39.7% of individuals in Ghana knew what the internet was, and out of that, 35.6% of them used the internet. To support our digitalization agenda, we have initiated several digitalization technologies. We are not only focusing on access, but set into motion programs and plans that focus on the widespread adoption and usage of these technologies. The mobility of digital services and innovation are crucial for digitalization. The rollout of 3G coverage is mainly at district capitals, and 4G coverage is mainly at the regional capitals. Government, through GIFEC, is rolling out 2016 rural sites to provide meaningful connectivity in over 8,000 unserved communities with close to 4 million population, for which all subscribers, irrespective of their network operator, can roam to access internet, mobile telephony services, and mobile money transfer services. Further to this, the national roaming to commence soon will afford all subscribers access to internet service, even when their service provider is not available. As a country, we have enough international bandwidth for internet access. Yet we need to deploy fiber between and within towns to the reach of offices and homes. The deployment of 5G beckons to address the mobility requirements of the Internet of Things, IoT. Innovation. distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is currently the Accra Digital Center, an innovation hub, which is currently churning out some developers and accelerators of innovation. In order to augment the incubation in the country, the government will require partnership from private sector to set up 16 regional innovation centers, as well as digital startup centers in tertiary institutions to support innovation and entrepreneurship of emerging technologies and applications. Cloud data storage and data analytics are two drivers to the success of digitalization. Cloud storage. Some large companies have their own data centers and others resort to outsourced data centers, such as the Tier 4 data center available in Ghana. Data costs are likely to reduce significantly if content generated locally are hosted locally. However, data sovereignty, bandwidth cost, latency, and the availability of IT computing power are required to support the local establishment of data centers. There have been, ladies and gentlemen, some concerns on information collected on Ghanaians and their transactions being hosted outside Ghana. Cloud storage services have to be in compliance with our data protection law. We have a Tier 3 national data center for both private and public sector usage, and are in the process of acquiring a government cloud overlay on it to provide seamless services to all users. It is also protected by the National Cybersecurity Operations Center, the SOC. Data analytics. Data analytics offer a great opportunity to deliver insights regarding client behavior and enable evidence-based decision-making. Data analytics is the fuel of digitalization, yet it has been one of the most underutilized assets in Ghana due to the segregated nature of our data sets, sitting in unconnected, unusable silos, and the low competence in machine learning, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and quantum computing. Let's grow our capacity in these areas. With substantial inflows of foreign direct investment into the ICT sector, Ghana is one of the few countries in sub-Saharan Africa with a relatively high internet penetration. Indeed, government has transformed virtually all sectors of our economy using cutting-edge technologies, in some cases leapfrogging the more technologically advanced countries. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the World Bank, the country also has an internet penetration rate of 48%, representing about 14.76 million people. There are 4 full-service telecommunications companies which drive the country's telecommunications. MTN has a market share of 56.42%, representing about 23.24 million subscribers. Vodafone has 21.34%, representing 8.79 million subscribers. Airtel Tigo has 20.13%, representing 8.29 million subscribers. And Glo with a market share of 1.87%, representing 0.77 million subscribers, that is 770,000 subscribers. In addition to the telecommunication companies, there are dozens of internet service providers, many radio and television stations, and many other players in that ecosystem, regulated by the National Communications Authority, an authority under my ministry. According to the ITU, Ghana also has one of the most matured telecom regulatory regimes in Africa, coupled with well-documented studies such as published on the well-respected howmuch.net. As at 2019, we also were in the second lowest category out of 5 categories of data prices. Furthermore, according to the Household Survey on ICT in Ghana, conducted by the NCA in collaboration with the Ghana Statistical Service in 2020, smartphone ownership amongst phone users stand at 46.1%. Within the first term of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo's government, the fastest digitization efforts have been carried out. Of special mention is the fact that this government is the first to build a truly robust foundational identification system, a prerequisite to building a solid digital ecosystem. The National Identification Authority, ladies and gentlemen, collects the personal data of all residents and issues biometric cards to all adult residents of Ghana, including citizens and other nationals, with plans to cover our younger population in the near future. Over 15.5 million people are currently enrolled on the National ID card, that is the Ghana card system, and continuous registration in all their district offices is set to commence in July this year. The government also launched and implemented a digital address system capturing every square inch of land or water in Ghana, including that with which residents have registered their residency information with the Ghana card data. Some other major digitization projects of this government. Implementation of the groundbreaking mobile money interoperability project. Ghana is currently the fastest growing mobile money market in Ghana. In fact, Ghana has 36.9 million registered mobile money accounts. Ghana is the first country in the world to implement a universal QR code payment system that accommodates both bank accounts and mobile wallets. The online passport application processes are helping many people and making it easier to obtain a passport, an unprecedented progress in the history of passport acquisition in Ghana. Digitization at the ports, resulting in the elimination of the long room and streamlined inspections, as well as enhanced enforcement, which have made it easier to clear goods, curbed corruption, and increased revenues for use to develop our country. Digitization of the courts through the introduction of e-justice system to end the manual filing processes of Ghana case tracking system, electronic case tracking, electronic case distribution system, aimed at a fairer, more equitable, and transparent distribution of cases. Digitization of motor insurance database for all insurance policies, which now have key security features, having been synchronized to a national database which can be accessed simply with any mobile phone by the insured, the police, and the public. Digitization of the operations of DVLA, which has today enabled our citizens to have a much more convenient way to acquire their driver's licenses and register their vehicles. Commencement of the automation of our hospitals with the objective of a more efficient and improved service delivery at hospitals. The goal is to go paperless in all hospitals within 2 years. Completed the infrastructure to provide free Wi-Fi to all 722 senior high schools, 46 colleges of education, 260 district education offices, and an initial successful pilot of 13 public universities. Ladies and gentlemen, the government also developed a one-stop shop for government services, the Ghana.gov payment platform. Indeed, the process of onboarding all government institutions onto this platform is ongoing. On this website, you can apply for and obtain various government services from MMDAs. Ladies and gentlemen, facilitating the growth of a cashless or cash-light system is key to digitalization. This single digital payment platform provides a single point of access to apply and pay for all services of ministries, departments, and agencies of government. This has seen growth in government revenue collections, deepened expenditure savings, and reduced the need for physical human involvement in the administration of public services, thereby helping our fight against corruption. Also, the implementation of policy has culminated in the use of payment systems and platforms like mobile money interoperability and signals a step in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, by making the Ghana card national ID the TIN number, we have increased the number of people with TIN numbers from 750,000 in 2016 to 15.5 million today. Also, by making the national ID the SNIT number, we have increased the number of people with SNIT numbers from 3 million to 15.5 million. The national health insurance number is now the Ghana card number. The digitization of the births and deaths registry is about 80% complete. Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, an agency under my ministry, has embarked on a rural telephony project, which is aimed at closing the void created by mobile network operators' inability to extend coverage to communities with populations below 1,000 for commercial and economic purposes. GIFEC, as part of this mandate, is implementing this project in order to provide voice and data services to unconnected communities in Ghana. 400 communities have since benefited within 2 years, with over 600,000 people connected. Under this project, over 82 community information centers have also been connected to the internet. The government of Ghana has also recognized the digital skills gap, particularly for girls and the marginalized groups, and has embarked on several interventions to address this issue and create opportunities for young people. And GIFEC is leading the implementation of a digital skills program that will provide about 14,000 citizens with job-ready digital skills. In particular, women entrepreneurs, pupils, teachers, and marginalized groups through 200 centers across the country. This initiative is being supported by the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, the Norwegian government, and the government of Ghana as part of the Digital Transformation Centers initiative in Ghana. Under the Ghana Cares Obatampa Program 2, we will consolidate all government fiber assets held in various MDAs like ECG, Gridco, NITA, the road and railway sectors into a robust, resilient digital infrastructure to provide services to all public sector agencies, link educational, health, security, industrial, agricultural, and local governance installations around the country, and lease excess capacity to the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to link all these systems to make it possible to analyze the data for planning purposes.
It's a better platform to reach out to people out there. And it tells you that if the space is fixed well, it appears that everybody would want to go or use these platforms to engage people. I mean, in my work, I've been able to sit there during this COVID times and engage people in the US, a live video conferencing, Clara, Zoom, and Teams, Microsoft Teams, to do all these things, and how it has made our work very easier for us. So it tells you that, yes, people don't really have that much phobia. If the place is smooth, if all the issues are worked out on, people would actually want to use the space and do it well. The problem has been with network issues, infrastructure issues, and also ensuring that if I send money to Kwame, if I send money to Ato and all those people out there, they will get the money and they'll get it right and ensure that things will get it right. So it appears things are back now. So let me get back to the director of NITA on the quick comments on the opening as you're trying to round up actually. Thank you so much for your patience.
Sure. Thank you, George. As I said, I think the report was comprehensive. I'm from that very ministry, so I concur with most of the things that has been said and what we are doing. But for me, I think the topic today is very interesting. We cannot talk about business transformation without looking at the regulations. And that is where perhaps we come in as NITA, which is the regulator for the ICT space. So I look forward to the deliberations and the discussions.
Bokpeng, he's a finance lecturer, and we all look at what digitization has done for us, even not looking at the academic books and the research and all the rest. Just within 1 year, what has transpired in the financial space, i.e. what the ministry is doing. A quick comment from you on the presentation by the Director of Communications of the ministry.
I think it's an elaborate report and it sets the tone for us. If you look at the progress that Ghana has made in terms of digitization and digitalization, I think we have done quite well. But there's still a lot that we have to do, particularly in terms of cyber resilience, regulation, risk, data privacy. All of that have to be done. But I'm particularly also concerned about the job creation of digitalization that she talked about, and I think that beyond just what has been said, we have to be able to translate a lot of the things that have been outlined into actuals and into more sustainable jobs. If you look at the percentages that we were given from the IFC data, even though Ghana has taken a giant leap in terms of digitization, in terms of the employment share, I think we need to scale up. Because if you look at the internet economy alone in Africa, it's more than $180 billion. If you look at the digitized economy in Africa, it's in excess of $300 billion. I think we should be looking at getting our fair share from this in terms of making the right investment along the lines of artificial intelligence and machine learning. But I didn't quite get a lot in terms of the involvement of the sector in the tertiary education space in terms of complementing the investment from the universities and ensuring that the graduates that exit from the universities are actually exiting with the necessary digital literacy and the digital body language, because when you look at digitization, the world has moved on. And particularly what COVID has done is to actually fast-track the arrival of the fourth industrial revolution predicated on network readiness. And that is what the world is heading towards. So perhaps the next interview will be done over virtually. Perhaps the next work environment will be more working from home, what people now call remotopia and the rest of them. So we should be looking at equipping our students and our graduates with the necessary digital literacy, digital skills to be able to compete. And why this is important is because it has implications for labor market outcome. We are not only talking about the Ghanaian economy today, we are talking about an economy within the continent that is in excess of $2.6 trillion. And that is huge within the context of the operationalization of EFCFTA. So we should be looking at the bigger picture. So whatever investment we are making here today, we are looking at it within the context of Africa and the fact that we are in a better position to be able to produce graduates that can leverage the job opportunities on the continent. So I think that a lot has been done, but a lot remains to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bob Kane, the University of Ghana Business School Finance Lecturer. Let me come to Mr. Bram. He is the Chief Executive of Hubtel. For you, as a player in this space, brilliant speech, brilliant document, brilliant regulations, what else do you want to be done for you as a player to ensure that you can perform to your utmost potential and delivering real quality service to your clientele and even me as well?
So I think that the speech is, I mean, it's a point of pride. All Ghanaians, we have a lot to be. I loved it when hello? Yeah, I loved it when the digitization is the key to the Ghanaian dream, and it is. If you look at if you look at our history or our digitization history, we've been among the first African countries to have mobile telephony, and how quickly we adopted mobile telephony against traditional telephony. And if you look at what we have also been able to do with the adoption of mobile money, and how mobile money is changing it's changing our economy, it's changing our lives, it's changing so many things for us here in Ghana. We have so much to be proud of, and a lot has been done to digitize the economy. And we are seeing the benefits, that the more we digitize, the more the economy is growing, and it's inspiring new thoughts and new ideas from businesses like us. What I want to say is there's a lot more to be done, and I think Prof was talking about the same. There's a lot more to be done. I think 60% of our population has still not been connected to the internet. The data from our two experiences with mobile telephony and mobile money suggests that if we make these systems available, people will adopt them. What it means is that people are not online in Ghana because the internet is simply not available, and that if we make it available, we can see the adoption also hitting 100%. So I think that's one area that we can look at. If we're able to do that, that would inspire new companies, new ideas, new thinking, which would further drive us towards the Ghanaian dream. People talk a lot about so digitization. What are the benefits? Well, you're already living the benefits. Just 25 years ago, if you wanted to go visit somebody in their house, what did you do? You just showed up at their house, right? But today, you take it for granted. But before you get to somebody's house, you must have called them. We don't know how, mobile telephony and mobile money has changed our lifestyles for the better. And the more we digitize, the more we drive these technologies, the more we formalize our economy, the more we turn analog systems into digital systems, we're going to realize that we can make faster decisions, we can make much better decisions, our governments will run better, our local governments will run better, and then slowly, surely, we will be inching towards the Ghanaian dream. It is happening everywhere else, and I think it is time for us to grab that and lead Africa towards finding this new way and how this new way of life can help us grab our dream.
Thank you so much. And these are the initial comments coming from our panelists on the speech that was delivered by the Chief Director of the Ministry of Communications. Now, let me get back to Professor Bobkin before I get to the regulator. And Prof, thank you so much. Prof was my lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Very practical lecture, I must confess, and trying to let us relate to the job market and what is happening. We've talked about the Ghanaian dream, and I'm still getting educated on the Ghanaian dream. Now, for digitization, how can that aid or destroy the Ghanaian dream? Going into the university, you want to finish, you want to pass, you get a good job, maybe, yes, of course, everybody was thinking about working in the bank with your car loan and everything, dressed in suit and tie and all those things. Is digitization not going to rather destroy that dream where more hands might not be needed because you're doing everything on the digital space? How does it really, from the academia, engaging students who the Ghanaian dream might be to get a good job, good family, living in a good home? That is the dream. How is this digitization going to help that dream to be actualized, or rather it's going to affect? Because if more companies are going to the digital space, will they need more hands to employ or not?
Okay, that's an interesting question. And I think it's very basic today that if you were training yourselves for the jobs that existed yesterday, then you will be successfully unemployed. Okay, so you have to understand what the future is and align your skill set. So digitization will bring some disruptions. Okay, it will replace certain jobs. It will also create new jobs. So you want to be able to align your skill set in that direction. So even if you're an accountant and you are digitally illiterate, you'll be unemployed. If you're a lawyer and you are digitally illiterate, you'll be unemployed. If you're a pastor and you don't know the internet, very soon your congregations will leave you. You'll be the only person left. Okay, so the idea is that it's an enabler. So don't see it as a constraint. So look at and move with the tide. So that's very, very important. So that is why we are saying that today it's not good enough to say that I did accounting, I did economics, I did this and all of that. You have to be able to also exit the university knowing that you have the necessary digital skill to be able to work wherever you find yourself, because there are new opportunities that would come. In fact, in the next 5 years, there will be more digital jobs than the traditional jobs that we used to have. In fact, by 2022, more than 60% of the global GDP would have been digitized.
Interesting.
Okay. And the understanding is that the digital economy would outgrow the traditional economy. So if you're a student, you are preparing for the job market, you should be looking at the emerging trends and begin to align your skill set accordingly. And that is the way we should look at it. Because whether we like it or not, you can't change it. In fact, you don't need a pastor or a prophet to tell you to believe in digitization. It has come to stay. It is part of the larger economic context in which businesses operate today, not only businesses, but government, households, and individuals. So that's the way to go today. So once you recognize that, but it's also important that we also revise our curriculum to incorporate greater digitalization. Okay, because we cannot continue to train on the syllables that deliver jobs for yesterday and not the future jobs. Other than that, very soon the universities will soon have empty classrooms. And the real threat to universities today is that because of digitization, you don't need to go to US to have their education. Okay, you could just be in Ghana here and be a student in Harvard. Okay, so you could just wake up in the morning and log on to Harvard lecture room. So the competition to us today is higher than 20 years ago. Okay, so we are also recognizing that, and we are reevaluating our strategies to remain competitive going forward. And that is how we see it. The next job that will be advertised in graphic will not only be applied by people living in Ghana, but people living in Nigeria, South Africa, and all of that, because we have one big labor market in Africa today, and we are competing for those jobs. And very soon, if for instance, if you are hoping to work in the bank, then you have to maybe think again, because very soon banks will be operating more branchless, okay, because of QR and digitization and all of that. But in the same mode that keeps some people out of the labor market, new entrant will also come in with the right skills. Okay, so even if you have finished school, there's a need for you to reskill and upskill in line with the future jobs requirement. And we all have to, even as a lecturer, I have to reskill. I have to align with the emerging trends. Other than that, the things I knew 5 years ago, 10 years ago cannot deliver a competitive wage bill for me going forward. So that is how we should. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
Let me bring in the regulator, part of the regulators here. I ask myself, is digitization all about mobile money? And it's good we have Mr. Solom Adadivo here, and I'll bring him in the discussion as we go on. And internet, or there's more to it than, because when we hear digitization and I hear policymakers celebrating what it has done for us, is it about internet and mobile money, or there is more in this space than what we have been told, and the opportunity that it brings to us in realizing that Ghanaian dream, not just for students, not just for young folks, but even for those who might be in their prime as well, that they can still live that Ghanaian dream?
So thank you for the question. I just wanted to also offer my, if you like, my idea of the Ghanaian dream. All dreams are not the same. Different people have different things, but all our aspirations is to live comfortably, economically, and be socially active. So for me, I think the equalizer is technology. Irrespective of who you are, as an individual or as a business, you've got to embrace technology to transform yourself and the business. So I wanted to position that. For me, I think that's the equalizer to basically enjoying the Ghanaian dream. So digitalization is not just about the internet, mobile money. It's a bigger issue. Okay, it's creating the enabling environment. It starts from education, right? We need to equip our young ones early to participate in this, if you like, digital environment that we find ourselves, or the ecosystem that we find ourselves. And then it works through. You go to university, you study. I mean, why do you expect to come out and expect government to employ you? Why can't you leave university with ideas that you can come out and become an entrepreneur? All right, but the enabling environment needs to be established and the right ecosystem. We all heard from the minister's speech that the enabling environment have been created. We continue to expand, if you like, connectivity, right, to ensure that even our rural folks can also participate in this this trend. We also have government cloud, which is coming. So we need the infrastructure and the education, all right, to participate in this trend that we call digitalization or digital transformation. So I think it's a combination, and the necessary regulations to allow businesses to thrive. I mean, we are in an era right now that the regulations are getting plenty. We have different regulators playing different roles. So we need to look at collaborative regulations, okay? As NITA, who regulates the ICT space, I could work with my sister agency, whether the Data Protection Commission or the NCA, so we can collaborate so that we don't overburden businesses, okay? So this is also another area that we need to look at. So regulation and regulatory compliance is key in all this, because you can't create the environment and leave people to, or businesses to just do what they want to do. We need to shepherd them and make sure that it works for all of us.
From the regulator's perspective, how do you draw the line between protection or overprotection and also aiding the growth of these private firms to meet the demands of these young folks out there who are more hyper and more energetic to get things done? A typical example is the current struggle about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and digital currency, and where the players are getting ahead of the regulators.
Yes.
How do you ensure that whilst you try to grow private businesses and meet the demands of consumers, you also don't lose the space of protecting this? What you work around that?
It is not new. Often at times, businesses and trends actually go ahead of regulations. So what you do in this area is to make sure that the business community is also involved in shaping the regulations, okay? So BOG, I think in the early stages of cryptocurrency, came out and said, well, we don't understand the area. We don't have a clue, right? So what they need to do is to obviously bring businesses who actually understand, academia, business players, so that you fashion a regulation that would protect and encourage cryptocurrency. I mean, we need it because if you look at, even with after and trading across Africa, the issue of settlement is problematic, right? That is something that we need to look at, because one country to the other have different settlement processes and all that. If I had cryptocurrency, it would make life a lot easier, right? So these are some of the things, or if we encourage that and we accepted that, it will make life a lot easier. So it's not new news that businesses often, or technology often goes ahead of regulations. But I think we all need to kind of work together with the business community and all players to make sure that we craft something that works for.
And is that a commitment from you that regulation is going to change going forward in terms of being more market-rented and going ahead with, or going with market trends?
Absolutely. Those who know me that I'm a collaborator, and I work collaboratively with people. I think it's also that word is extremely important in our space or in our area. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Standards Boards, and I met with Professor Dodo, and I said, look, how can we collaborate together? I regulate the ICT space, you set the standards, and we realized that there were so many synergies that we could bring together. So as we do, I'm talking to also the players. We have stakeholder forums. We listen to our players, our partners in the sector, to understand what are their constraints, what is it that they need. And that's what I touched on. If we are not careful, we would overburden businesses with regulations. And we need to be careful of that and make sure that between regulators, we collaborate to ensure that we don't overburden businesses as well.
Thank you so much. If you join us, this is the graphic business breakfast meeting. As you look at digitization, the key to unlocking the Ghanaian dream. And there's a quick, let's call it maybe, is it a feedback? And I'll mention it by saying that we shouldn't think digitization can be the key to unlocking the Ghanaian dream. I think we should talk about leveraging digitization to achieve the Ghanaian dream. He thinks that it's a whole big thing out there, and Professor Bokin, what do you make of this concern that we can see digitization as the only, but rather how we can use it to leverage on achieving the Ghanaian dream?
Thank you very much. If I have the permission, I'll copy the marking scheme from the... I'll copy with acknowledgement. I think she made it clear that there's a difference between digitization and digitalization. Okay, at the basic of it is digitization. Okay, and then you leverage on that to transform business processes. So it's a continuum, it's a process, and all of that. So, but we should not think that that alone is all that we needed to do to be able to realize the Ghanaian dream. There are so many things that we have to do, but I think the topic for today is to look at how we can leverage on this to achieve that dream. And so many other things also come. And I think that is the point that we are making. It's not to suggest that salvation is only in that. No.
Let me come to Mr. Bram, Chief Executive of Hubtel. And sometimes it's always about the expectation and the reality on the ground. We've talked about digitization, we've talked about technology, and there's a very interesting development going on in the US right now, where now most of the institutions are saying that, okay, we've been able to control COVID, come back to work. These workers don't want to go back to work because they think that, listen, I'm doing the same thing from the house. And don't forget those who also get in some government support and looking at if I'm getting like $3,000 a month, and maybe I'm getting like $1,500 or $2,000 from my workers or my employer. the reality is that we are talking about digitization, but you go to the office and there are about 20 people sitting there, jobs that can be done by 2 people, things that can be done online. I also want to find out from you as a private player, the reality on the ground and the talk about going the digital space. I mean, can we really get there? There are people who still want to walk into the banking hall to take maybe 200 Ghana cedis, 100 Ghana cedis. You can do that through the ATM. So we talk about digitization and all the beauty about it. But the reality, the culture, the psyche, have we done enough?
So first of all, digitization it's a lifestyle. So you're going to have people, and people would always want to have choices. So there are still people who still use those telephones that, the very first telephones. It's up to them. Some of it still work, but there's a better one. There's a mobile phone, and there's a smartphone, there's a touchscreen phone that can do a lot more. It's a computer plus a phone. So I think it comes down to choice. What's eventually going to happen is that you'd find that there's going to be a mix of it. So companies are going to eventually ask people to choose how they would want to work. And how they would want to engage.
But now they are kind of begging them to come to work.
Yes, because it's life and people. If you look at especially a lot of the work from home phenomenon, people are instantly, when it started, it was great that we have found these new technologies that work can continue. We can still continue to drive our economies, and then we started realizing that it's very boring for many people working from home. So we need that human fuel, which we will still burn, because it's very hard to work with someone that you haven't met before. There's no relationship. We're still human beings. So yes, it's going to come down to choice. And I think that when all this settles, it's going to come down to companies allowing people to choose how they would want to work. So your work should be able to, you should be able to do part of your work from home, and you should be able to do part of your work on the go, and you should be able to do part of your work in the office. And the data also suggests that digitization creates more jobs. So when the computer age started, everybody was scared about their jobs. Well, guess what? We've created 8 times more jobs than before the computer age. So, like Prof was talking about, digitization will create new opportunities. Digitization will create new jobs. It will create new things, because it's human beings at the end of it. We are in the business of providing services and products to ourselves. What digitization provides is just a means for us to do that more efficiently, to do that faster, to do that better. Today, there are so many internet entrepreneurs in Ghana. You just have to go on Instagram or go on the various e-commerce platforms and you'd find them. They're working, they're employing people. The structure of jobs is going to change. Haptel, for example, we're employing so many delivery riders, we're employing order managers, we're employing inventory people. These are roles that didn't exist just 3 years ago, and they are now evolving. There is going to be a lot more, and so as we change, we'll find that it's still going to be the same services for the same people. The mood and the title might just be a bit different.
Thank you, Mr. Brahma. Very soon I'll be bringing in the audience, and also for those who are following us via our various social media platforms on Graphic Business, Graphic Online, and JoyNews, and Joy 99.7 FM. This program is live on JoyNews, and you're monitoring us. So if you want to contribute or participate in this discussion, you're allowed to send your views via the various Twitter handles in terms of what you think should be done, and are you convinced that we can use digitization to actually achieve that Ghanaian dream? And let me come back to the Director General of the National NITA as well. And Mr. Brown was making a point about a lifestyle. Should we get to that space where it's more of a regulatory compliance or compelling people because of the benefits that this has brought. You look at the space of taxation, and now GRA is saying that from the comfort of your home or office, you can file your tax returns, pay your taxes. We're talking about the Ghana.gov project, and I know that there have been several initiatives there, but still a long way to go. I mean, I know people, and Mr. Dadivo, who still don't want to sign up to Momo because of all these things. And these are, sorry to say that these are not people, they are very literate, these are post-grad people, MBA. They don't want to because of the phobia. Should we still make technology digitization a choice? Or listen, that is where we have to go. Even with currency, the cost of printing and reissuing currencies, and what using more credit card and debit cards can do for us. But again, don't forget all the problems that is pushing a lot of people away from going to that space. So from us, a regulator, how are you engaging your minister, sector minister, and other players that whether we should now make it that it's not a choice? In those days, people will go to shops and ask them, do you still want a VAT invoice or you don't want it? Should we now compel people that this is where we are going, you either join or we will leave you?
Very interesting question. I think my colleagues on the panel have sort of given you some answer. It's a change management issue, right? Change is difficult. Others embrace it differently, and we will get there. Let me use an example, a very useful example, a collaborative example that we had during the COVID, at the height of the COVID. My ministry, led by the minister, the honorable minister, when the pandemic happened and we locked down, we decided that there's a solution that we must deploy for government institutions to work from home. And that solution is also available to the private sector. I'm proud to say that it was developed by a local company, a local tech company. So the solution is called Smart Workplace. So whilst people were at home, locked down, we were very busily deploying the system to government institutions to enable them to work from home. And I remember being on a call with the Honorable Finance Minister and the telcos, and a question was put to all the CEOs of the telecom companies or the MNOs, how can you help government in this? So they also gave free data, sponsored data in the education sector, as well as giving for us to access internet. So it worked very beautifully. People can work from home, but that is not a new thing. In the early 2000s, I was working from home in the US, right? I did 3 days at home, 2 days in the office, and I could do everything that I needed to do sitting in the office. But here you have, we've built all these, offices and all that. It's going to take some time for us to get people to fully work from home. But I think it's coming. I don't think you can legislate that. I think you can create an environment that would let it happen. But I think it will happen. I prefer that, CEOs such as Selim would consider a staff maybe sitting in traffic for, and we seem to be picking on Selim, but he's right here, so we can see. A staff could sit in traffic 2 hours coming to work and 2 hours going home. That is an unproductive time. That is time that person can use at home and work. I remember, as I said, in the early 2000s, I get out of bed, I paste in my pajamas, I'm behind the computer working. And the data shows that when people work from home, they are far productive because they know that their bosses are watching them. All right? So we'll get there, but we cannot legislate that. We will create the enabling environment. Businesses, regulations.
Mr. Professor Bokny, we just want to make a quick point at the end, but I also will get the last two comments from you, then I go to the audience, and then also pick comments from the various social media platforms in terms of what is their thoughts on the Ghanaian dream and whether they are ready for it. Prof.
Thank you very much. So it's a process, and I think businesses should have the the leverage of making those choices and all of that. But I like the point that you made. Before COVID came, the debate was whether working from home was more productive compared to going to the offices. We had mixed evidence, but I think a lot of businesses and individuals, as part of the coping strategies to COVID-19, actually migrated onto this. But what is obvious is that part of the coping strategies that we have developed in response to COVID-19, some have come to stay one way or the other. So, of course, there are those who, regardless of the measures you put in place, will take them a while to actually migrate. But that, I wouldn't say I noticed, but way back in the Old Testament, God gave the 10 Commandments to Moses in a tablet, maybe a little nicer than the one I brought here. That was way back in the Old Testament before Christ was born. So if you are in 2021 and you still suspect tablets and you suspect digitization, then you are in for a long haul. But I think we need to also understand them. But I believe that a lot of these things will also come with greater education, peer pressure. Education must be strong from that perspective in terms of the risk that is emerging because of digitization in terms of cybersecurity risk should not be taken lightly. Okay, particularly if the system is not robust, we are more vulnerable. Because whether you like it or not, criminals follow the money. Okay, so if a lot more people are doing Momo relative to, let's say, the usage of check, it also tells you where criminals will also focus on. Because on the average, they are also entrepreneurs following the money and all of that. Okay, so we need to put in place those things. And I know as a country, we have been talking about STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and all of that. But it's about time we also add the A to make it STEAM, because a powerful technology in the hands of an immoral or unethical person could be dangerous for all of us. So we should be looking at the ethical dimension.
Under pressure. So one of our biggest challenges in Ghana today, and I think in the speech that Magdalene read, it sort of touched on this point, which is a lot of our content demand is international. So in as much as we have local infrastructure that carries out traffic, to carry that bulk traffic, you need a backbone that has enough capacity all around the country to give a certain level of consistency and to give a certain level of quality. So our fiber backbone nationwide is one of the big constraints. We're still using significantly radio waves and radio microwaves to transmit in between cities, not even in remote areas, but peri-urban areas. And this is a major problem. And even within cities, our fiber connectivity, metro fiber, is also underdeveloped. So that's the first area that that presents a challenge for us as far as infrastructure. Of course, within the core cities as well, you do have a demand challenge, which means from a supply perspective, we have a challenge because the demand in these core cities is so high that the infrastructure is under a lot of pressure. So there are different ways to look at it, and the solutions are, near and far in between, but there are several components that can help us solve some of these. Some of it will be infrastructure, spectrum, new sites, inter-site distances, and we have a lot of policies around the implications of having proximity to settlement when it comes to site locations. But the wider your sites are located, the lower the capacity you can transmit, which means to increase capacity, you need to have more sites at shorter distances. Otherwise, you need other compensating factors like spectrum. So, there are all these dynamics. If I don't have enough spectrum, then I need more sites. If I have enough sites, then I need less spectrum. And we have to get the balance between these resources right based on what we have available. So, lots of areas of opportunity as far as growth, but the reality is that we have a data capacity deficit, and until we're able to get our capacity and infrastructure to accelerate, we will continue to have a lot of pressure on our infrastructure. Thank you.
Does it affect you in your quest to provide the right level of service for people who are in the digital space? So the tech space is different, unlike other companies that when demand shifts or moves around, I quickly move things internally to meet that demand. Is it that easier for you to do that or not?
Look, to shift demand around, because a lot of the infrastructure is physical, and immovable. It's not as easy to shift demand around or supply around. However, if you think about reallocation of spectrum, for example, it allows you some degree of movability as far as supply is concerned. But in our infrastructure today, when students moved home and workers moved home, our capacity dimensioning strategy was completely disorganized because we had planned capacity for areas where we typically see usage. And now that usage has shifted to other areas. And therefore the inadequacy of that meant that we were significantly challenged as well. But to a large extent, we did everything we could to minimize the effect of that, but the challenges still were at play. So.
Madadeva, for that brief response there. I think we can take 2 questions from the audience, and I'll plead as very brief as much as possible, please, because of time constraints we have as you're streaming this program live on TV. I want everybody's comments and concerns to be captured on our various live platforms so that we can move this program as fast as we can. So I have, sir, you can introduce yourself and go ahead with your question, please.
Thank you very much, George. Andy Akoto from KPMG. I just wanted to pick up on the concept of inclusivity that Prof. Bokpen referred to, because we are looking at the basic tools to access this whole digital evolution and computing, which is the laptops, the cell phones, and so on. And I'm wondering if there is a case for a deliberate government intervention to attract investments into this space, because every equipment that we are using in this endeavor, more or less, is imported. Okay. Meanwhile, some of the basic raw materials, you can talk about lithium, cobalt, and the rest, are all in the African space. Okay. And in this era of 3D computing and printing, I mean, why can't we make a deliberate intervention, to attract investments into manufacturing some of these basic tools, so that the young child sitting in the remote area, who is being taught about the concept of computing and digitalization, can even begin to relate to it. Because at this point in time, we're trying to deepen our education and change management and inclusivity, but the basic tools for these young ones to even use are not there. And we are not even talking about the primary level. We are even looking at the tertiary level, where the number of people as a result of the pandemic shift, were left out and caught out in the cold because they didn't have laptops. They couldn't afford it. And it's a question of demand and supply. So is there a case to be made for manufacturing some of these basic tools?
I'm Prince DeGrant Brampon from Auction Export. I want to ask that how can digitization help reduce the issues of...
Here, please. Is there any question for us? Okay, there's one gentleman from here, please, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm Ankobia from Ghana Medical Association. My business is healthcare. I think the use of digitalization in healthcare is slow, because I sit in a big teaching hospital and everything appears to be digitalized. Then you move all the way to the regional hospital, the district hospital, healthcare. I don't even have to talk about the primary, the chip compound. But I think by now we should have gone all the way so that people making referrals to hospitals, by the time the patient gets to me in a teaching hospital, I have all the records. And I don't need to repeat. They waste time. They are not good for patients and all that. So I think government must take, if government alone cannot handle, let us bring in the private sector to help, spread the digitalization to all places in Ghana. Thank you.
Doc, can I throw a question also quick back to you? Just a quick one, please. What is the state of telemedicine here, since you are coming from a teaching hospital?
It's only developed in teaching hospitals. But like we are talking about, it shouldn't be so. By now, it should have gotten even to the CHIPS compound. And I'm sure to be good for all of Ghana.
So let me come to Director General. There was a question about regulation from the partner at KPMG. So your thoughts, Professor Popkin, and I'll come to the Haptel CEO as well, please.
Okay, so, yeah, thank you. So thank you, Mr. Akutu, for the question. I think his question was, is there an effort to create an avenue to manufacture these laptops, these things, which are the essentials for digitalization that we are talking about. I know for a fact that I think the Ministry of Education, I know I reviewed a document on their behalf as the regulator, that they were thinking of establishing some labs and actually some companies here to manufacture these handsets. So we'll continue to push that. We've had it before. I mean, we had the case of RLG and all that. So I think it's in the right direction that we manufacture these so that we can put a tablet in every kid's hands as they go to school and they can learn from that. We are teaching them to be technologically savvy even at that age. So I think it's key. I think if you permit me, George, there was also a question about I think Selim raised. I do not regulate Selim sector. That's NCA. The Selim is gradually coming into my sector, so I'll go and see him and we'll have we'll have a conversation. But I think, I mean, we all saw what he was talking about when COVID happened. But I know my minister is working on consolidating fiber assets that are owned by government. So here we said VRA has fiber assets, Gridco has fiber assets, Ghana Gas has fiber assets, okay, and many more. I think railways also have a bit. Why can we not pull them together, consolidate them, right, and serve the needs of the MNOs and anybody else who they'll lease it and run their business. Everywhere else, that's what they do. If you take the case of the UK, British Telecom as the operator at the time created the infrastructure. Now Richard Branson can get up and say, I've established Virgin Telecom. He hasn't erected a single tower, but he's operating because the infrastructure is there. I think we need to look at that. And I know my minister has taken it up and we are looking at that. We are also, in terms of the, my good friend from the health service, I know currently we are working to provision connectivity all the way to the chip compound. So that is coming. You talk about, you know, it's in the regions, but when you go out, you don't see them. There's a whole RFP that is coming out that is providing services, connectivity services to assemblies so that they can use the gift mix system, and then also to the health sector, all the way to the chip compound so that you can utilize this. But I also believe that the issue of me leaving Accra and going to Kumasi, God forbid if something happens to me, we have to go through this rigmarole of trying to understand who I am as a patient and all that. I think within the health service, you guys also have to do your bit to push this agenda. Because at this stage of the game, we should be able to connect. It is not rocket science. We should be able to connect the data so that a physician sitting even in a chip compound should be able to access it. But the fundamental is the connectivity. So we are getting that done so that we can do that. I think that's...
So Prof, I'll come to you on the question about jobs, but let me come to Mr. Brem, CEO of Haptel. As we talk about infrastructure and how we deploy it and all the rest and digitization, who pays for the cost of this? The user, the player, or the regulator? Because there's also the question about how we can localize some of these infrastructure. These are because of the huge monies we have to pay to third parties outside. So two-part question. First, who takes care of this cost providing infrastructure, and how do we also move to localize a lot of these things so we can cut on the cost of servicing, third-party payment, licensing issues?
So ultimately, the customer will pay for it, but that's where the service provider will have to be creative. There would be years that you would have to invest much below your cost of operating before there will come a time in the future that you'll be able to get your return on investment. So yes, it will be an investor or it will be a service provider that will be paying for it. I'm sure MTN has invested millions in building new cell sites, in digging out the country to send fixed fiber all across. And they will make their money, and I'm sure